This is the Sixth Man Show, an Orlando Magic podcast, with your hosts, Kevin Tucker and Jonathan Osborne, covering all things Magic basketball. By fans, for fans. Go Magic!
What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Sixth Man Show. Today is December 23rd, 2024. Jonathan Osborne here, as always, joined by my co-host, Kevin Tucker. Kevin Tucker, you asked for a Christmas miracle, and you got a Christmas miracle.
I've been following this team for a very long time, Jonathan, as you know, 20 years now. And I don't recall ever having such conflicted emotions, such strong emotions on both sides of the spectrum as we've had for the last 24 hours, right? Like the absolutely crushing heartbreak of the Moe Wagner injury, which we're going to talk about, the truly insane comeback Saturday night against the Heat with so many guys out. It just the emotion, the whole spectrum of emotions is what I've been feeling the last 24 hours. And honestly, it's kind of hard to like work through those. I'm just all over the place, you know? But anyway, I'm doing pretty good. I'm just in shock that the Magic won that game last night, and it was really cool.
Obviously, we're going to talk about the game in detail, but I think really the biggest, and at the end of the day, like that game is just one game and it counts as one win in the column. But the biggest takeaway in the big picture is obviously the Moe Wagner injury. So if you haven't heard already, you haven't seen on social media, or you weren't watching the game, Moe checked in if like around like the 2.5 minute mark, something like that, to go or maybe like the 4 minute mark to go in the first quarter, and play like a minute and a half, roughly, a little bit more than that. And like the first time he touches the ball, he goes to drive to the basket and plants his left leg and just immediately goes down, tries to get up, can't get up, left the game, went to the locker room. And today with imaging, it was confirmed that he suffered a torn left ACL and he's out for the rest of the season. I think most Magic fans probably understood what had likely happened when it happened, and if not like shortly after with everyone else talking about it, but it definitely doesn't make it any easier to process. You know, all day today I was hoping that we would get some kind of miraculous news that it was a bone bruise or it was a sprain and it wasn't serious. But him being out the rest of the year now, just what he's meant to the team, playing off the bench, up until very recently, he was second in bench scoring in the entire league and was really giving the offense a big boost off the bench. And just like what he means in the locker room and to a lot of the guys, it's really just another brutal injury in this, like a little over a week from now, it'll be exactly 6 years to the day from the Jonathan Isaac knee injury that happened in Washington on New Year's Day that kind of started all of this like most recent stretch of like significant Magic injuries. And now this is just another one added to the list, and it really sucks.
6 years? Really? Is that right?
Yeah, it was 2019. It was
crazy. No, I believe you. It's just
crazy
to think about.
Was it 2019? No, it wasn't 2019. It was it 20? No, it was New Year's Day 2020. So 5 years. Sorry.
5 years. That's still longer than I would have guessed.
Yeah.
But either way, that's what happens when you get old. The years just fly by. Yeah, the whole Moe thing is just, you and I were talking right before we started recording. Like when the injury first happened, I was like, oh, but didn't think mind you, this is all in the span of like milliseconds, right? That your brain processes all this stuff, right? It first happens, I go, that was a little weird, but he's fine. And then you see him try. First off, you can see it in his eyes, like he's like, and then he tries to get up. And when he can't get up, that's when, because Moe Wagner gets up, right? Like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what kind of, contact it is or what kind of situation it is. He's always going to always going to get right back up. And so to see him not do that, and they instantly show Franz on the bench, and he immediately looks like he's in distress. And so I'm like, if Franz is in distress, he knows his brother better than anybody. So in a span of just a couple seconds, it was pretty clear to me that it was likely something serious. And so that was so tough. And just, you could tell, like, it impacted everybody in that entire building. Like, obviously his teammates immediately just flustered and heartbroken and all those things. And you felt it in the atmosphere in the building too. Like, you felt it with the fans and, the broadcast team, and it spilled over everywhere. And so that's also one of the things that adds to just the drama and the thrill of what happened later in the second half, right? Like, that's such an emotional thing to go through. Like you said, in the midst of an already emotional season with guys being out. And so to add that to it, and they still overcame it in the second half, just one for the ages on Saturday night.
Yeah, my experience was a little bit different. I wasn't watching the game live. Kevin was taking over the Twitter on Saturday night, but my church had their church service, and my wife is really involved with the kids ministry at our church. Like, she runs everything, and they didn't have enough volunteers, so I was stuck with, like, at one point it was me and a ton of like 3 to 11-year-olds. So I'm getting like your tweet updates and like our group chat, and then like once Carmen was done with other stuff, I got to go hang out in the lobby. And that's when I saw all the texts about Moe. And when I watched the video, I saw the things that, you're describing. But today, when I went back and was able to watch the entire game, I think I had processed a lot of those emotions already. So I didn't like feel the emotional weight of what happened during the game. They were down 9 when the injury occurred. And then, within a few minutes, like, they're down by 25. Like, when you go back and you watch this game in, the proper context, it's even that much more impressive what they did. And we're not going to bury the lead here. The Magic were down by 25, came all the way back and beat the Miami Heat on Saturday, tying the franchise record for the biggest comeback ever. I think it was like November of 1989 against Cleveland was the only other time the Magic have been down by as much as 25 and came back to win the game. But yeah, I think for me, other than the emotions of the injury, is like, well, where do the Magic sort of go from here? This is until Franz and Paolo both get back, they're going to be missing production from Moe. We had this sort of like miraculous, just heroic performance from Cole Anthony. I think now the question becomes like, is Cole back? Is Cole going to be able to do this on a more regular basis now that, the last time that Cole had a 30-point game, it feels like maybe it's been a couple of years. I don't know exactly how long it's been, but we're not going to need Cole to do that every night, but he's going to have to, be a 15, 16 point a game scorer for the Magic to try to replace what you're losing with Moe Wagner. So it's just I was thinking about this today when I was thinking, like, going back to the original JI knee injury, New Year's Day 2020, like, before that, the Magic had a pretty, like, a 6-7 year stretch without really having major significant injuries. And now it's almost like we can almost bank on one happening every year. It feels like,
except for last year.
Exactly. So it's like, when is our luck going to break the other way? Like, not for good, because you're always going to have injuries at some point, but it just feels like we've had more than any other team in the league over the course of the last 5 years, and there's a lot of data that supports that. But just like what is the answer? I don't think it's the training staff. I know there's been a million questions about that, but like, there's been a whole turnover in the training staff over the course of the last couple of years. We were all applauding the training staff last year for how healthy everyone was.
Mm-hmm.
And now it just seems like the luck has kind of swung the other way. And it just really sucks. You saw, again, just emotionally how it affected all of the guys. Moe Wagner and Jamal Mosley, especially after the game. Obviously, Franz. Anthony Black was borderline distraught on the sideline when it happened. Just really unfortunate for a guy who, as we've talked about, the Wagner brothers documentary has been looking to be appreciated somewhere, and it felt like he had really found his spot and his place in this rotation, especially, and was just having the best season of his career. And for that to happen, it's really just brutal.
Yeah, definitely brutal. And it's going to be a while, obviously, but I'm already looking forward to his return. Like, think back to when Markel came back from his injury and all the guys wore the Markel shirts, and I can see something like that. Moe Wagner comes back next season, and honestly, there's a chance he's not ready at the start of the season. Like, that's a possibility with an ACL. I'm not going to sit here and try and guess how probable that is, but I think it's certainly possible he's not ready at the beginning of the season. More than likely, he might be. We're sitting here in December when this happened. But if he's not and he comes back, later in the season, the first month or whatever, like that night when Moe Wagner comes back, like, sign me up. Like, that's going to be awesome. And I can't wait to see it, not just for the emotion of that, but also ready to see how he bounces back, because obviously he's such a hard worker in everything that he does. And so I'm looking forward to see him take that effort into his rehab and recovery, and then ultimately being a stronger and better player and human and all the things when he comes back sometime next season.
If he heals like Franz does, I would bet that he will be back.
He'll be back by the playoffs.
Oh goodness, that would be awesome. Yeah, what do we have, like 10 months at this point? Right. I would like to think that he's back. The other thing that some people have brought up is the fact that he has a team option for next year.
Right.
I will just be the first person to go on record and say, if the Magic do not pick up that team option, there will be riots in Orlando. I don't like to talk about the Franz tax or whatever, because Mo has proven he's a better player than that. But I'm going to bring it up now. If you decide to decline the team option of the brother of your superstar max player after he tears his ACL, you should just turn in your letter of resignation. That would possibly be one of the dumbest things that you could ever do. And for that reason, it is why I believe that's not going to happen. If anything, even given the injury, I think there is a chance that there is some type of extension that is negotiated this offseason, given how well he has played and just what he means to this team.
Right. That's what I was going to say. Like, the whole idea of them not extending him because he's injured or whatever, like, it's not like he's just been sitting on the bench all season. Like, he has been one of the best 6 men in the league, would have been a top 5, at worst, top 5 candidate for 6 man of the year, probably top 3. Maybe even better than that. And so he was just sensational all season long. And so he has earned that team option, and probably maybe even more than that. So yeah, I look forward to seeing him again in a Magic uniform next year.
Yeah, we'll definitely like to see that rewarded. So we're going to go back a little bit. We start with some housekeeping stuff, but we thought it was important to, spend some time talking about Moe Wagner. Just want to remind you all that the 6-man long sleeve is still up for pre-order between now and the end of the year. So if you've seen that, want to check that out. We did have our group night the other night. What was that? Thursday night when the Magic played the Oklahoma City Thunder. And yeah, that didn't really go all that well.
Well, the group night went well. We had a good
group
time.
Night went well. The game did not go all that well.
I just want to add one more thing. You talk about the long sleeve. Just to clarify, when Jonathan says year, he means calendar year, not the Magic's year. So you have until the end of the year. So you have until December 31st, the night of December 31st, to get your pre-order in for that. But yeah, as far as the group night goes, had a great time. Always great to meet people, we've seen on the internet, or people we've never heard of that, listen to the show or watch the show. And that's always a great time. And then we had a great time doing the pregame warm-ups. That was fun. Yeah. And then the game itself, it kind of was what it was. But what do you expect when you have this group coming up against statistically the best defense in the league? And then, yeah, that's the way it goes.
Yeah. Well, the reason that I wanted to bring that up is because during the pregame warmups, our guy Jalen Suggs was able to come over, and I was able to talk with him, earlier in the week, and just wanted to, give him one of the shirts to say thank you for everything that he's done for us. So you see Jalen Suggs walking around town in a 6-man long sleeve, you know where he got it, and where you can get yours is the sixmanshow.com/shop. And I mean, if it's good enough for Jalen Suggs, it's good enough for you. It's good enough for the loved ones in your life. So, maybe, we've talked about the Patreon. We talk about the Patreon each episode, but maybe Patreon's not a good fit for you, but this shirt definitely is a good fit for you, at least in my opinion. So if you want to help support the show in any way, maybe it's not the Patreon, maybe it's the shirt. Again, you can get yours at the sixmanshow.com/shop. And speaking of the Patreon, maybe you've just been waiting for a sale or some kind of discount. Well, I am excited to let you know that we are running a discount on the Patreon between now and the end of the calendar year. So between now and December 31st, if you head to patreon.com/the6manshow, select whatever tier you want, you can get 15% off your first month or your first year with code SIXMAS, the number 6, MAS at checkout. So be sure to check that out. And then our Stadium Club watch party, the next watch party is coming up on January 17th when the Magic play the Boston Celtics on ESPN. We will be at the Stadium Club, which is located inside the
Caribe Royale.
Yeah, thank you. Located inside the Caribe Royale Resort, and the Stadium Club is going to be probably the sickest venue that we've ever done a watch party at. Brand new, again, inside the Caribe Royale Resort, the 360 video board around the bar, fantastic food, great drinks. They have the sports simulator bays that you can reserve as well. It's going to be a great time. Make sure that you come out to that. Really looking forward to that. And like Kevin mentioned, again, about the group night, just being able to meet listeners that we talked to online for years and years and always help support the show. Seeing everybody always makes for a great atmosphere, the way that we're all able to cheer for each other. Did our best with that game on TNT against Oklahoma City. And then even being able to meet our guy Manny, which wasn't technically a part of the group night, but this dude's been doing our social media videos for the last several seasons and flew 20 hours from Australia and was able to watch his first ever Orlando Magic home game in person. And he, as well as our guys, Sam and Matt, that you've seen on the post-game live, they were able to be the fans of the game on the floor, before the game. That whole night was just a ton of fun. Like being able to see everybody and, help other people, sort of like live, dreams is kind of what we do this for. Not necessarily in the podcast business, we're in the making dreams happen business, Kevin.
Wow, look at that. Yeah, it was a super fun night. Lots of cool things. The only thing we missed out on was a win, but got to give the credit to the Magic for fighting. Made it interesting there in portions of the second half, but yeah, just a little too much OKC, I guess.
Too much Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Woof.
Every time we play that guy, I'm like, he is just so freaking good. Like Jalen Suggs, goes down in the first half, comes out at halftime, tries to give it a go, plays like 4 minutes. Pretty obvious that he's hobbling around. He's pulled, but like everybody that like Jet Howard even gave Shai some really good defensive possessions, and it just didn't matter regardless of who was guarding him. He was really the engine for OKC, and the Magic were down by as much as 23, I think, and they were able to bring it all the way back down to 3 or 2 points before OKC really closed the door. But nationally televised game. It looked like it was just going to be blowout city, but the way that the team fought came all the way back in that game. And second straight nationally televised game, I think it was. Well, we had the other one against the Knicks that really didn't go that well. But the Milwaukee game, so 2 out of the last 3, the Milwaukee game and the Oklahoma City game, down a ton of guys. Paolo, Franz, Gary Harris, you lose Jalen in that one. And then for them to play the way that they played and at least made it competitive. I didn't really pay attention to the TNT broadcast. I haven't rewatched it or anything like that. But 2 out of the last 3 nationally televised showings, you can see that there is the bones of a really good team there and a really competitive team that's not going to give up and is going to fight. And I was really proud of the way that the home crowd, for the most part, the way that we kind of showed out and try to bring a good atmosphere and a good environment, a good home court advantage for that game.
Yeah, and I think while the Magic still have not had, any kind of world-breaking performances on national TV, at least most of the NBA world understands what the situation in Orlando is right now when it comes first with the injuries, right? So one injury, can go under the radar. Once you start having 2 and 3, the world starts to realize, right? Like holy crap, feel bad for Orlando. So the Magic have that going for them, right? So I think a lot of casual NBA fans realize that the Magic team that they've seen the last couple times on national TV is not the same team. And so you have that, and then I think in general, just most NBA fans are starting to realize the good that is happening in Orlando, right? The foundation that is being built, and some of that even comes from these performances. While they were losses, they did see a game without Paolo and Franz, and one of them without Jalen, and then wait, no, that's not true. We had Jalen in the Milwaukee game. See him without Paolo and Franz, and you go, wow, they're still competitive. They're still flying around. And so, yeah, I think most casual NBA fans are starting to realize, I think, what's happening in Orlando. And so, but I do want to get some wins on national TV. Like these are, it's nice, whatever. Nice. You can give all the moral victories you want. We got a couple more left this season. Golly, I want to win at least one of them, please.
Yeah, I think, in recent years, it's felt like, if the Magic were given any type of spotlight and they didn't play well, it would just be like jokes and memes and the Magic just really getting clowned on. But what I've seen recently is that, hey, even though they didn't win, or maybe they were down a lot in these games and were able to fight back, like this team is going to be really good when they get healthy. So that's been encouraging to see.
This week's Jam Hot Chicken Jam of the Week. It's pretty clear. It's pretty obvious. Not just because it's a nasty dunk, but because it was the first bucket of the historic fourth quarter comeback for the Orlando Magic. It was Cole Anthony coming off of the rebound of, I think it was a Corey Joseph missed 3. Here's the play here. Corey Joseph with the 3 on the left. And what's his name? Cole Anthony flies in one-handed, throws it down to cut the lead from 22 to 20. A lead that the Magic would eventually take over on the way to that 7-point victory, that historic comeback against the freaking Miami Heat. What a special play. What a special moment. Undoubtedly this week's Jam Hot Chicken Jam of the Week, which is brought to you by Jam Hot Chicken. They're bringing jams, culture, and hot chicken to the heart of Winter Park. They're a Nashville and LA-inspired hot chicken shack, locally owned and operated in Winter Park. You can find them at 400 West New England Avenue, Suite 13, in beautiful Hannibal Square, which, by the way, we talk about Jam Hot Chicken all the time because obviously they're friends of the show. But there's a lot of other cool shops and stuff there in Hannibal Square. You can get a haircut there. You can go shopping. There's all kinds of cool stuff. So make an evening out of it sometime. Go to Hannibal Square. Check out the different local stores there. But obviously, just be sure you eat at Jam Hot Chicken. You can follow them on social media at Jam Hot Chicken. You can check them out at jamhotchickenfl.com to check out their menu and other things related to Jam Hot Chicken. But again, we're big fans of Jam Hot Chicken because they're fans of the Orlando Magic and of this fan community. So definitely check them out. And again, let them know that the Six Man Show sent you.
I was at Jam Thursday before the game, and I met a wonderful young lady who's a fan of ours, who's originally from Japan, went to Jam Hot, was going to the game Thursday and stopped at Jam because of the show. And Andrew told her that I was going to be there shortly and told her to wait. So I was able to meet her. So just, it's so crazy. Like we talked about Manny being at the game and just meeting fans from all over the world, like the things that this pod has done. And, the community that Jam has really helped us grow as well has just really been incredible. This episode is also brought to you by Kevin Walker, who is our newest patron. Anytime we have a brand new patron, we give them a special shout out. So thanks so much, Kevin, for joining the community. And also brought to you by Nikki Nunu, RM Prof 221, Only Franz, Cannibalism, and Carson Tula. Who are these folks? These are some diehard Orlando Magic fans who went to patreon.com/the Six Man Show and joined either our Elite or Hall of Fame tier patron. We give those Elite and Hall of Fame tier patrons a special shout out each and every episode, just to thank them for their support. We literally can't do anything without them. Can't do group nights or watch parties or even have the podcast equipment and the resources that we use to put on every episode. So again, a big shout out to all of our patrons. And if you want to join the Patreon, this is the perfect time to do so between now and the end of the year. So between now and December 31st, if you head to our Patreon and use code 6miss the number 6 MAS at checkout. You can get 15% off your first month or your first year for new patrons that are joining. So again, a big thank you to all of our patrons. We wish you all a very Merry Christmas. Couldn't do what we do without you. We love you so much. And let's get back to the episode. Let's go ahead and check in on our weekly state of the Magic. This week, the Magic went 1-1 with the loss to OKC and a win over the Miami Heat. At 18-12, the Magic are sitting at 4th in the East, 7.5 games back of Cleveland, now 5 games back of Boston, 1 game back of the Knicks. All things considered, just being 1 back of the 3 seed right now is incredible. A game and a half up on Milwaukee, 3 games up on Miami, especially after their win on Saturday night. That's a big bonus. 3.5 games up on Atlanta and Indiana, 4.5 games up on Chicago, and 5.5 games up on Detroit. The Magic are currently 24th in the league in offensive rating with an offensive rating of 110.2, 3rd in defensive rating with a defensive rating of 106.5, and 8th in the league in overall net rating with a positive net rating of 3.8. The injury report is getting long. Paolo Banchero remains out with the torn oblique, but we are hopeful that he'll be back, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Franz Wagner out with the torn oblique Thursday on TNT. In between the quarters, Franz was interviewed and said he's hoping to be able to do more in the coming days. What more is exactly, we don't really know. Like we've been talking about with the shorter reevaluation period, as opposed to Paolo, where it was 4 to 6, with Franz was 4 weeks. We are right around that 2-week mark now. So another 2 weeks, he should roughly be reevaluated. That doesn't mean we're going to hear an update necessarily, but hopefully we'll be getting Franz back in the next 3 to 4 weeks. I think everybody would welcome that. Moe Wagner is now out for the season with the torn left ACL. Gary Harris has remained out with the hamstring strain, although he is questionable for Monday. And then Jalen has been out with the sprained ankle. He is also questionable for Monday against the Boston Celtics.
I feel like Gary's been questionable for like 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying?
It does feel like that, doesn't it?
Like he was out and then, I don't know. That whole thing bothers me. Like the questionable status in the NBA is just so weird, but whatever. That's all right.
So let's talk about what everybody wants to talk about, right? We've talked about the things that are necessary in talking about Mo, and that is sort of like a dark cloud that's going to always sort of hang over this game for me, even though this is legitimately one of the greatest wins in franchise history when you consider all the context. Miami's not very good, right? Like, no Jimmy Butler in this one, but even with Jimmy Butler, I just don't think they're a very good basketball team. Like, they're not the Miami Heat from, 2, 3, 4 years ago. They're just not that level of a team at this point. I just don't think their roster is very good. But all things considered, I don't care if this is against Utah or Miami or the Boston Celtics. This is like a legendary staple win for this Magic team.
You are right. It doesn't matter who it was against. But if this was against, the Wizards or the Pelicans or whatever, it would have been huge and big and important. True. But the fact that it was against the Miami Heat is what makes it just so much sweeter. Like, it just makes it so fun. Like, the fact that they are the ones who choked away this lead. And again, if we were fully healthy, Paolo, Franz, pre-ACL Mo, Gary, Jalen, everybody, the whole roster fully healthy, a 25-point comeback, a 22-point fourth quarter comeback would still be one of the best comebacks in Magic history and statistically one of the best comebacks in NBA history, at least since what they call like basically the stat era of like 97, 98, I think is the season they always refer to. But the fact that it happened without Paolo, without Franz, without Jalen, without Mo, without Wendell, without Gary, it's just so stupid. Like, it is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And I mean that in the best way. I said at the top, I'm still in disbelief. I can't believe it happened. I went back and watched the fourth quarter again today, and I still don't believe it. I think it's fake. I think I'm living in a simulation, and I think none of this is real. That's what I think.
If you just forget about, like, I'm not talking about like the rivalry with Miami. I'm talking about like just looking at their roster, like on paper, that team. If you take that away and you just look at all of the odds that this team had to deal with, a massive injury to like one of your, maybe not core players, but a very important piece of our team and a guy who is absolutely beloved in the locker room. The officiating, especially in that first half, just being absolutely ridiculous. The quick whistle with the technical fouls all game long on Jamal Mosley, on Jesse Mermis, on Cole Anthony, Wendell getting tossed immediately, and then this team being down by as much as 25 as they were. Terry Rozier and Tyler Hero going off in the first half, and Terry Rozier sort of carrying that over into the third quarter, and then being down by 22 in the second half, getting it to 12, it getting back up basically to 20. It's 22 going into the fourth quarter, and then just I rewatched the entire game today because I didn't get to watch it in real time last night, but especially that fourth quarter, going back to that, and the way that just everybody was hitting shots to start that fourth, and the way that like KCP and Cole continue to make plays, and Trevlin Queen and Goga Batadze and Jett Howard, hitting big shots. It is legitimately like one of the most improbable, ridiculous things you will ever see.
The fact that comeback came on the backs in the fourth quarter specifically, the Miami Heat lost a 22-point lead to Trevlin Queen, Corey Joseph, Goga Batadze, Jett Howard, is just amazing. It's so cool. But you went through the list of like adversity and things that the team, the odds were totally stacked against them for this comeback. The only one I'll add to that is this whole Cole Anthony thing, right? Like, it's not like this has been a good Cole season, right? We've talked about it on the show many times. Cole has really struggled this season, really struggled. And there are a lot of people that are on Twitter and, in the post-game live and all that kind of stuff talking about, how we, talk bad about him and how he said it himself in the post-game. He said it's been a rough year. I don't think anything we've said on the show, not once have we come on the show and said we hate Cole. Not once have we come on here and said Cole is crap. We've never done that. We've just said the dude is struggling. Why? Because we know what he's capable of. We've seen it. But this season has been really difficult for him. So the fact that in spite of all the difficulties and struggles that Cole has had this season, if there was any night for him to snap out of it and have not just the best game of his season, one of the best games of his entire career last night, to have him step up in that moment with all the injuries and quite literally put the team on his back and lead them to a victory. It was amazing.
I'm going to stop you right there. It's the best game of his career. I just went back and I went through the game log of every season. His career high is 37, but to have 35, 8, and 9 on 52% shooting in this type of circumstance, right, it is the greatest game of his career. And to anybody that has an issue with the criticisms that we've had of Cole, we've never had anything that has ever broached like anything personal. No. Just been fair criticisms of his play. And to your point, he would say so himself.
Correct. I think I heard at the end of the game, Cole had 24 points in the second half. I'm pretty sure that's the number I heard, which is stupid status.
I think it was 27.
In the second half, he had 27? Good grief, man. That's crazy. Yeah, he was otherworldly. And also got to shout out KCP, another guy that we have said on this show and all people have said all over Twitter has not played up to the standard that we expected from him this season. And again, I think he would agree with that. But when the Magic needed people to step up, he stepped up last night in a big way.
27, 5, and 8 for Cole in the second half.
Yeah, crazy. Trevlin Queen for me, man. Like, obviously it was a night of unsung heroes, but wow. Hadn't played real minutes all season long. All season long. This is game number 30. Hadn't touched the floor with meaningful minutes. Gets thrown in there. Not only does he make his shots, he absolutely shuts down Tyler Hero in that fourth quarter, which is amazing, by the way.
0 for 5 in the fourth quarter while being guarded by Trevlin Queen.
Crazy.
With the game-saving block.
That's what I was about to say. And got the block that kind of sealed it. Oh man, that just crazy. Again, that's why this whole thing is just so hard to believe, because like pick any one of those storylines and you go, wow, that's surprising. You put them all together and you go, wow, that's impossible. There's no way. And yet there was a way. It's just wild.
At the start of the fourth quarter, ESPN gave like their win probability, gave the Heat a 99.5% chance of winning that game.
99.7%.
Excuse me. Just if you haven't seen it, I wouldn't say go back and watch the entire game, because like the first quarter, you have the Moe Wagner injury. It's terrible. The second quarter is just such a slog with whistles on both ends of the floor, but with whistles constantly. And the third quarter, like when Cole started to get it going, like regardless of what he did in the fourth, without Cole's like third quarter, the game is over. Like the Magic don't have a chance to come back in the fourth, but like Cole was just doing enough to keep the Magic within striking distance in the third. But if you're not going to do anything else, just go back and watch the fourth quarter. We've given you all the context. I will probably watch that fourth quarter like at least another 10 to 15 times before I die. It's so ridiculous. Like we go back to the game in Sacramento last year, like guys being down, Chuma going crazy. That game doesn't touch this fourth quarter for me. It's just, yes, it was so improbable that Chuma was hitting threes, but you had Paolo in that game. Like you had him making plays.
Right.
Like the way that this fourth quarter happened is just unreal.
Well, we've talked many times so far. We've talked about Cole scoring 27 in the second half. We talked about, Trevelyan Queen making shots, Corey Joseph making shots, all those things. We are 30 minutes into this show, and we have yet to talk about the fact that the Orlando Magic held the Miami Heat to 8 points in the fourth quarter. 8. And 4 of those were in the last minute. So Miami scored 4 points in the first 11 minutes of the fourth quarter. That is, again, going down the list of things, it's like, wow, that's surprising. And you just add to it like that. That is crazy. That is so insane.
It really is. I know the defense is crazy, but like now that I'm going back and reliving like the Cole Anthony highlights from that fourth quarter, like the tip dunk, like Corey Joseph shoots a 3 to start the quarter, misses it. Cole Anthony comes from the right corner, grabs it with one hand, slams it down. Like the baseline, like fall away shot that he had, the and one floater that he had. He has there's like another layup where he like finishes through contact at the rim. Shot clock winding down late in the game, finds Goga for a wide open layup. Just, man, it's been so long since we've seen Cole like really get busy offensively. And when that dude has it going, he really can be so good. And him like regaining form, we don't need him to drop 35 points, 9 rebounds and 8 assists every night. But if he can just get back to being like right now we need him to be like a 15, 16 point a game guy. If he can get back to that like relatively efficiently, it's just so big for this team.
Yeah. And like the stats and all that stuff's amazing, but his post-game interview with Dante, like obviously there's like the whole set of emotions that he showed, which is amazing, but just hearing him say like, I love being here, like been here 5 years, really struggling right now. And the fact that he was just so emotional because he contributed to a win quite literally for the first time this season. Honestly, there might've been a couple times where
there's a couple, there have been a couple of games that I don't think we win without Cole having like relatively good performances, but like nothing close to this.
Right. The fact that he like was one, there haven't been games where he was like one of the top 2 contributors to a win. The fact that last night he was the contributor to a win, you could just tell it just meant so much to him. And again, the post-game interview wasn't about, oh, I did this, I did that. It was just like, wow. He was grateful to his teammates, grateful to Mosley, grateful to be in this position, grateful for being here, grateful to contribute to a win. And like it just continues to show like this fan base loves Cole. Obviously, as we said, he's been struggling, but he loves being here, and you gotta back guys that want to be here. And so, happy for Cole to do that. But you're right. Let's see him keep that up, because Lord knows we need him right now more than ever.
To that point, when Vooch got traded, and like a lot of people were, emotional about that, there are some people that don't hold that era of Magic basketball in any type of high regard and don't particularly care for players from that era, like Vooch included, even though he's inarguably, a top 10 Magic player of all time, probably closer to top 5 than he is 10. But I think part of it was like we finally had a guy that wanted to be here for the first time in forever, and then we trade him away. And now we have 15 guys like that on the roster. Like, we can't forget how much that means for guys really to want to be here and to love being here. And I was just emotional at the result of the win, right? Like, just being so proud of the way that guys fought, and you could tell how badly they wanted it, and just literally anything that could go wrong in this game went wrong, and they set or tied the franchise record for the biggest comeback ever. But I was watching this on an alternate stream, I'll just put it that way. So I was watching the Heat's broadcast. So I didn't get the Cole interview like right after. I saw all of you talking about it, so I had to wait until the Magic posted it. And had I gotten that in the moment, I absolutely would have been like tearing up right alongside Cole. And I saw you on the post-game live. You were emotional. Like, how can you not root for that guy, regardless of how poorly he's played? We were at the Oklahoma City game on Thursday, and Cole in the first half was atrocious. He gets pulled. He goes over to like the warm-up bike and is like smacking himself in the head, hitting the bike. Like, he's freaking out because you could just tell how badly this dude has wanted to play well, and in his words, wanted to contribute to a win. So to see him do that, to see how emotional he was, to see how happy all of his teammates were for him, I don't know how that doesn't get you. You're not human if that doesn't get you at least a little bit emotional.
Yeah, it was super special. Got to do it in front of his mom too. That picture that Tony Gwynn of the Orlando Magic grabbed of him embracing his mom and some other members of his family was just like one for the ages. Like, it was so special.
The Heat fan in the background with his hands on his head.
With the surrender cobra pose. Yeah, it was really, really cool, like iconic picture from Tony, and posted to social media there. So,
what is surrender cobra?
Surrender cobra. That's the name of this thing.
Where does that originate from?
It's been a college football term for a really long time. I don't know where it came from. It might have been from a Deadspin article.
I just call that the hands on the head.
Nope, it's called the surrender cobra. That's the
name. I've never heard anyone ever call that.
Specifically in sports, because when something like that happens, like if something shocking or bad happens, you look in the crowd and everyone's like this. That's called the surrender cobra. Yeah,
I genuinely would like to know how many people. Maybe if I'm the only person in the world that doesn't know that term, I would love to know that. Or if Kevin just pulled like an insanely obscure reference out.
I think it originated from an old Deadspin article, but let me see. I'll see if I can find it. But yeah, that's definitely a surrender cobra.
Yeah, I don't know how much more we can talk about this game specifically, but we do also have to spend a not significant amount of time talking about Jamal Mosley and what he did in this game, but what he's done for the past 4 years. What you saw last night, that resolve, that spirit, the resiliency that this team plays with is a culmination of what that man has been building for 4 years. And you and I have talked about this multiple times. We know the Coach of the Year award is not like a cumulative body of work type of award that gets given out, but damn it, it should be for Jamal Mosley. I'll be the first person to admit, when Jamal Mosley was hired, I was nervous, like after the very first like media availability with Jamal Mosley. He's not the most polished media guy you will ever meet. And I don't mean that as a slight by any means. But man, the work that this guy does with these men on this team and the culture that he has built And every single person that you talk about or talk to on this roster or that works within the organization, or you hear people around the league talking about Jamal Mosley, they say that what is happening in Orlando with the culture and with this roster and the way that the guys play and they compete, everybody points to Jamal Mosley and will tell you it starts with that man right there. And he is just not getting enough credit. Kevin Tucker, to his credit, I don't know what it was about Jamal Mosley, but Kevin Tucker has been on the Jamal Mosley train from day one. My criticism with Jamal Mosley at the beginning of his tenure, and he has improved immensely over these 4 years, was like, this guy just might not be the best X's and O's guy in the world. And to me, it felt like initially that Jamal Mosley was the guy that you hire to get you to a certain level, and then you bring in the guy that sort of gets you over the hump. I will say this right now, Kevin, especially like with this core group of guys, we talk about Paolo, we talk about Franz, Jalen, whoever else you want to include in the core, I cannot picture any other human being, alive or dead, in the history of this league coaching this team. I don't want to see anyone else coaching this Orlando Magic team for the very, very, very distant future. I want this guy to be the most winning, most longest tenured, like the guy, when you talk about the best Magic coaches of all time, I want that to be at the top of the list when it's all said and done. And I was a little bit apprehensive, this guy being a first-time head coach. When we talk about the best coaches in team history, you talk about Brian Hill, you talk about Stan Van Gundy, throw Doc Rivers in there, Chuck Daly. Like, Jamal Mosley is getting into that conversation. Like, he is, in my mind, already like one of the best 3 or 4 coaches in the history of the franchise. And I just absolutely love the dude and everything that he stands for. He still is improving in terms of like the X's and O's. But man, like the meme that he culture has become, Jamal Mosley is just the like living personification of like culture mattering. And I just love that dude so much. I'm so proud that he's our head coach. And yeah, I would die for Jamal Mosley.
A couple things. First off, this is like a huge monumental moment in our friendship here, because I still remember some of those early conversations, and I'm not saying this to bash Jonathan. This was a long time ago. No. I mean, this was way early in the Mosley tenure, before we really knew who he was or what he was bringing and all that kind of stuff. And I just remember you saying those. You and Luke, I think, both were pretty much on the same
I wasn't going to throw Luke under the bus, but if I'm under the bus, I'm going to drag him down there with me.
He's not on the show to defend himself anymore. Yeah, you and Luke, both. But yeah, it was this whole premise of he's here until the next guy shows up and takes us to the next level. And I just remember just being
angry. I was
legitimately seething. I was just like, how can you come to that conclusion this early? Not that I thought Jamal Mosley was going to be this what he is now, right? But I was just like, I just thought it was too early.
Thank you for admitting that, because if you were going to get up here and be like, I knew this all along,
no,
I was going to call BS.
No, I just thought it was too early. I was like, the guy hasn't even had a chance yet. You know, let's see what he does. And what he has done has just been, as you said, just the culture that is here is amazing. But like, we've seen a couple videos out there on Twitter and on Reddit from Saturday night's game against the Heat, like the reactions from Jamal Mosley, like that dude just loves it. Like he loves a win. Like everyone enjoyed that win, but like for him, like that's like a Jamal Mosley win. Like that has his signature all freaking over it.
You talk to Jamal Mosley 40 years from now when his coaching career is over and ask him about some of his favorite wins in his career, this will absolutely be in the conversation.
100%. 100%. It was so special and special to him. And you're right. I mean, he's already 5th. I just looked it up while you were talking. He's already 5th in wins in franchise history, as far as head coaches go. He has 103. And I don't even know how up to date this list is on Wikipedia, you know? So got a long way to go to catch Stan, who has 259. But he's going to have something that those guys don't have. He's going to have an NBA title to his name in Orlando. And so I can't wait for that. He's so special. And like you said, I'm just so genuinely grateful to have him as our head coach. Like, I would love to write the man a letter and just explain, like, not just obviously glad you're our coach, glad that
would love to have him on the pod. Just throwing it out there.
That'd be great. That'd be great to have him on the podcast. Not just to have him as the head coach, but like the fact that he has changed the culture, not just to like, oh, the Magic win basketball games now, but this team wants to do well for this city, for this fan base, for this franchise, right? Like this whole organization, these guys, like you said earlier, talking about people that want to be here. That's almost completely thanks to the culture that Jamal Mosley and Jeff Weltman have built. And so the fact that he has built not just a winning team, but a team that wants to be here and wants to do well for the fans, you cannot put a price on that, especially considering the Magic's past. And so I'm just so grateful for Jamal Mosley.
I don't want to say in my defense because I'm not trying to defend my past self because I was, being a very reactionary, stupid poo-poo head. But I think where I was coming from was like my only other reference point for a first-time head coach was Jacques Vaughn, who like early in his career was not very polished when it came to talking to the media. I've also learned that doesn't really matter, right? At the end of the day, like what matters is what goes on when the media is not allowed in the building, right? So that's sort of like where my panic came from initially. But like I said, like I can't picture anyone else coaching this team and this group of guys, and I don't want anyone else to. And yeah, I'm right there with you. Like, I really believe this dude can bring us a title. Like, I still think at some point we need to bring in I don't know if it's maybe by promotion or hiring from the outside, someone who is a little bit more offensive minded, right? I think that we can still improve there. But folks, do not be mistaken. You do not get anywhere close to a win like that without coaching and without damn good coaching. And like, you don't get these emotional responses and you don't get guys who are so bought in like Moe Wagner and Jalen Suggs and Cole Anthony. You just don't get that without a guy like Jamal Mosley setting the culture.
And that's the thing, like the win Saturday against the Heat wasn't an X's and O's win, right? Like,
no.
Jamal Mosley had a couple good moves, right? But at the same time, he didn't have a whole lot of options, right? Like the roster's so thin at this point. So it's not like I'm sitting here and saying, oh, Jamal Mosley, 10,000 IQ play by doing X, Y, and Z. It was the fact that everyone believed that was possible. That's why that happened. It's
all heart and big, massive basketballs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, that's exactly what it was. And again, it was just a sense of belief, like believing you're never out of a game. Which, well, never mind. I'll say that for another day. Believing that you're never out of a game.
Do you want to tell people what you tweeted at halftime?
Oh, well, I tweeted a lot of things at halftime. Forfeiting? Is that what you're talking about?
People keep coming back to that tweet, but I don't really disagree with your sentiment, but
I want to clarify. The forfeit was less about the game and the score, right. Although it was bad. It was just more like the everyone was so defeated, right, because of the Moe injury. Like it was just like, that's why I finished saying this is so sad. It wasn't because I wasn't talking about the game. I was saying this whole night is just so sad. I want to go home is more what it was about. It was less about the game. And obviously, did I think we would come back? No. But yeah, it's back to Jamal. Just, again, beyond grateful. Can't imagine anybody else. And again, you got to point to Jeff Weltman and crew. Like another thing they got freaking right. Jamal Mosley was the right move at the right time, and another absolute home run by this front office.
Yeah. One thing that I meant to bring up when we were talking about the game is if you don't know, like Moe Wagner and Duncan Robinson, who plays for the Heat, were roommates at Michigan and are basically best friends. I want to say it's around the 5 or 6 minute mark in the second quarter. There was like a timeout, and you see Duncan Robinson go up to Jamal Mosley, and I'm assuming it was something about Mo, and you see Jamal Mosley just like kind of like shake his head. Like I'm guessing Duncan was like, is Mo okay? And Mo was just basically shook his head. So they knew pretty early on, because maybe a lot of people don't know this about the ACL injury, but there is some type of like diagnostic testing that they can do without imaging. It's called the shelf test, where from what I understand is like you basically prop your foot up on, like if you're laying on one of the like trainer tables, if you prop your foot up so that your knee is kind of at like a peak, and they can pull on like the lower part of your leg. And if your knee basically acts like a shelf, or like maybe I think it's called the drawer test actually. If it pulls out like a drawer, that's how they know that the ACL is torn, because your knee is unstabilized at that point. So obviously they always do imaging to confirm what is going on, so they know exactly what to do for the player. But they know pretty quickly if it's an injury like that. And but the team would have known that at the half.
Yes.
Like for sure, 100%. What I would do, the Magic, they do like the all access all the time. What I would do for that halftime, like from the moment they come in until the moment they go back out for the second half, just uncut footage of that halftime for that team. And, whatever Jamal, I'm sure it wasn't much, like he doesn't have to have this, massive epic halftime speech. Like I really believe it's just business as usual for them, because that's the standard that he set there. But what I would do to be a fly on the wall in a moment like that.
Honestly, there's a chance we don't want that footage. I know the Magic had this miraculous comeback and stuff. I think there's a 50-50 chance that locker room was still just silent and defeated at halftime.
I want to see
honestly,
that.
Right?
I would watch all of it. I don't care.
You want to see the Magic players be sad about Mo? Really?
Yeah, because I want to. I'm a sicko. Like I'm an empath. I want to live in that with them.
I see.
I love stuff like that. I don't.
Right.
Like I said, maybe just that's the weird part of me. But yeah, I enjoy stuff like that.
The post game locker room celebration. Now, sign me up for that. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, one of the videos we saw with Moe's was him walking down the tunnel after the game, freaking the heck out. The dude was so fired up. I want to see that locker room after that game. But yeah, it's again just like we started the show. I imagine for the players, it's a very bittersweet time. You have this amazing historic win against all odds, and you go back to the locker room and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot Moe Wagner, one of our key guys, is hurt. Maybe he was back in the locker room waiting for them. I don't know, but yeah, I'm looking forward to that episode eventually. But yeah, it's again just a very bittersweet past 24 hours, basically.
Yeah, for me, I have to like disassociate the two, the injury from the game. Like I have to just be able to be happy and excited about this historic, monumental, epic thing that they did. And then I also have to allow myself to just realize how much it sucks. Not only for Mo, it also sucks for Franz. It sucks for their entire family.
Yep.
And like from watching the document, I just love that family, even though I obviously don't know them at all. But yeah, it just really sucks for people that are so awesome. Yeah. And people say like, these guys are millionaires, they'll be fine. Like at the end of the day, yeah, they're going to be fine. But when you put so much into something and you care about something so much, like I don't know how you don't like feel for these people. They're human beings. Like sure, they have a ton of money, but at the end of the day, they're human. And
right.
You have to feel for
them.
They're
doing what they love, right? And that's being taken away from him for the next 9 months or whatever it is. You also talked about like you have to separate the two and celebrate this win. Part of the reason why I feel like you have to celebrate this win so much is because they're just so hard to come by. And especially when you look ahead to the Magic, fortunately, are still at home this week, but it's just so tough. The schedule this week is so tough. And it starts Monday against the Celtics, the defending NBA champion Celtics. So, yeah, look, the comeback Saturday was impossible, and it happened. I'm also going to sit here and
folks.
say that, especially if Jalen Suggs doesn't play, Monday night against the Celtics is impossible. Okay, it's impossible. But again, so was Saturday night. So
that's what I was going to say. Like, at what point do we just, if you're going through the settings of a video game and impossible is an option, at what point do we just turn at what point do we get rid of that word in the Magic vocabulary?
Right.
Because I feel like there have been multiple points of the season, beating Phoenix at home, that kind of felt impossible.
Yep, it did.
And the Magic were able to get it done. This game certainly felt impossible, and the Magic were able to get it done. So, at what point do we just say, sure, it's very unlikely, and we'll celebrate and be shocked if it happens, but I just don't want to put anything past this team.
Right.
The thing that I just keep coming back to, and I'm trying not to get emotional thinking about it, it just makes you so proud to root for this team, is the spirit that they it is unkillable.
Mm-hmm.
And it is because of Jamal Mosley and the way that each guy has bought into that, invested into this team, and the way that they've invested into one another, and just the connection, the relationship that those guys have in that locker room is just so freaking special. You roll the ball out and a couple of guys get hot and anything can happen because of the way that this team defends. Regardless of what we're losing offensively, if we're able to get Jalen back, if Jalen and Gary play, it's very unlikely, just given the amount of talent that Boston has, but it's the NBA, it's the Orlando Magic, and they're playing at home. Anything can happen on any given night.
Yep.
But if we lose by 30, I'm not going to be shocked.
Right. That's right.
So Monday versus Boston, a couple of days off with Christmas Eve and Christmas, and you're back at it. Thursday versus Miami.
Again.
That game is going to be pretty interesting to see how they respond. Friday versus the Knicks, and then Sunday versus the Nets. I'm gonna go 2-2. I think you get your Christmas wish of the Magic sweeping the Heat, because I think we'll have Jalen back for that game. I think at the latest, and then I think we beat the Nets on Sunday. I don't love our chances currently against Boston and the Knicks.
Yeah, that's. Just because I made that Christmas wish, I can't go back on it now. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with it. I agree. I'm gonna go same as you.
That Christmas wish list is looking pretty freaking good right now.
I pulled it up just because I was thinking about that earlier. Okay, a couple things still obviously haven't happened yet. I mean, heck, that was a week ago that we had that episode, so give us a break. The healthy Paolo thing. And then once the roster is healthy, you want to see role players in their appropriate roles. Your third wish was for Cole Anthony. That happened.
And I stole your. I mean, you were like, "Oh, you're the first person to wish for Cole for Christmas." Blah blah blah.
Right.
And then our guy Manny was at the game, took an awesome photo, and I kind of played off of that. And
I noticed.
The caption was, "No, well, don't say it's fine. I'm giving you credit."
Oh, okay.
What are we doing here?
I said it's fine. Yeah, it's fine.
Of course it's fine. I'm giving you credit for it. Of course it is.
It's fine.
Anyways, I said the Heat got a lump of coal, COLE, for Christmas, and people thought it was amazing. And just so everybody knows, it was a playoff of Kevin. There still had to be some creativity on my end coming up with it. But,
I didn't think twice about it.
Yes, so obviously you did, but that's neither here.
No, I didn't until you just said it. So your fifth one on your list, though, was Mo Respect for Mo. So that's the tough one.
We are getting that in a roundabout, sick and twisted way.
Very sad way, yes. For my list, we need to keep home court advantage, which has still happened. KCP needs to make shots. That happened. Sweep of Miami. We're halfway there. 2-0 against all odds, especially on Saturday. And then number 5 for me was Jamal Mosley Coach of the Year, which
I don't care. I don't even care if I legitimately don't care that he gets the award. Nobody can convince me that he's not.
Right.
Kenny Atkinson could get, how many people are on this planet? Like 7 billion?
Something like that, yeah.
He could get everybody in the entire planet's vote except mine and Kevin's.
Right.
And I would still be like, no, you're wrong. It's Jamal Mosley.
They could not lose the rest of the season. They could go 78-4. And I'd still vote.
NBA title. They could go 16-0 in the playoffs, win by an average margin victory of 45 points. And I would still say it's Jamal Mosley.
Yeah, me too, man.
Yeah,
me too.
Not, that's obviously very unlikely, but I don't know how, if you're somebody who has a vote, you're not at least putting him as like 1B.
Yep.
It's truly ridiculous. And it's like a feel good kind of, somebody commented that on one of our social media posts that win was like a sports movie.
Yeah.
And legitimately is.
Right. But the problem is when it comes to Coach of the Year voting, it happened in December instead of March or April. That's the part I'm afraid of. Like they have short-term memories, and they'll vote for whoever the hottest coach is at the end of the season. That's the way it goes. But hey, maybe that'll be Mosley. Maybe once we get healthy, we'll be the hottest team in basketball, and then it'll all work out. But we'll see. Long time to go till then.
All right, Kev. We talked about a lot of things. We talked about basically everything. Another quick reminder here about the shirts. Head over to the6manshow.com/shop. Pre-order your shirt between now and December 31st. Head over to patreon.com/the6manshow with code 6MAS, the number 6MAS, to get 15% off your first month or your first year for new patrons. Yeah.
There's one more thing. Merry Christmas, you stinking filthy animals out there. Merry Christmas to all. This is our last episode before Christmas, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Merry Christmas. Hope you all get everything that you want. It'd be awesome one day when you can actually donate your ACL to a player. I don't need mine
or your oblique.
Or your oblique or your ankle or anything, and add to the Christmas list. Just we at some point can have a very healthy stretch where we don't have like a very significant injury where I'm just tired of all that, but
but Merry Christmas for real. Merry Christmas everybody. Thanks for being with us in this holiday season. It's been as wild of a roller coaster as this season has been. It's been awesome to get to experience it with all of you.
Kevin, we haven't talked about this. We probably won't have an episode for a week. We're not going to record Christmas Eve. We're not going to record Christmas Day. No episode Thursday, I think.
I guess. I don't know.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of The Six Man Show. For Kevin Tucker, this has been Jonathan Osborne, and you all have been listening to The Six Man Show. Merry Christmas, and we will catch you guys next time. See ya.
Thanks for listening to The Sixth Man Show. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and Spotify to get new episodes downloaded directly to your phone. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and a review. It helps out the show a lot. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Sixth Man Show. We'll catch you guys next time. Go Magic!